Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randirhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy us a podcast.
Here he was retweeting a felon, somebody that was convicted of religiously aggravated harassment of an organisation that is a hate-driven organisation on the extreme fringes, the far, far right of British politics. This is like the president retweeting the Ku Klux Klan. This is not a mainstream organisation. For the president of the United States, our greatest ally as a country, to be retweeting, to be providing a microphone to those voices, I think everybody, no matter what your political persuasion in the UK, I think has been shocked by that.
And in fact, not just provided a microphone, I mean, it really has amplified those voices. I looked, the woman who he retweeted has some 40-some thousand followers on Twitter. The president has, 40 million, or whatever the exact number is.
Exactly, and the reason this matters is that these words, these narratives have impact. We live in a society where people decide what they do on the basis of what they think is socially acceptable. And when you make hatred like this against a minority, whether it is Jews or Muslims or whatever else, when you make hatred like this normalized, when you retweet and endorse an organization like this, what that does is it changes people's views of what is acceptable. It means that people are more open about their hatred. It means they're more likely to act on their hatred. To one of the things that we often talk about in the aftermath of a Islamist-inspired terror attack is, who are the hate preachers? Who are the people that are feeding this cancer of hatred in our societies? And we should ask exactly those same questions on the far right. And these people are the people who are inciting attacks against minorities. And the president has just been providing them a microphone.
Yeah, I mean, this group, Britain First, which I think many people in the United States have not heard about, I mean, the man, as far as I understand, who murdered your wife actually shouted Britain First as he shot and stabbed her.
It's also true that the forthcoming trial in the UK of a suspected terrorist who mowed down, using a van, a group of Muslims outside a mosque, was also a follower of theirs. So this organisation is one that has very strong connections to violence. It's an organisation on the far extremes of politics. And, for a country, for a president to be legitimising these voices, it has real impact. This isn't a hypothetical. This isn't something which is just a tweet here or a tweet there. It's something that the president has had an impact on, and therefore changed the public discourse in our country for the worse.
Yes, this is the president's strategy, is what Brendan Cox is trying to explain to the United States. The president has a strategy, and the strategy is to bring fascism to the United States. The strategy is to make him president for life. The strategy is to enrich him. The strategy is to get kickbacks from every corporation. The strategy is for him to enrich himself at the expense of ordinary Americans. The strategy is to use the military and make everybody uber nationalized again, and to separate the country into fascists and non-fascists, good Germans and non-good Germans, to control the mass media, to control the narrative, to control the kind of racism and sexism and assault and the judicial system and all of it, just him alone. To put him alone in charge of every one of those things. And that is the strategy. He is the hate preacher. He is. When you look at like I said, you look at, Islamic-inspired terrorism, and you find, that there are 63 episodes of it, over a 7.5-year period. But in that same time period, there were almost twice as many of acts of violence. The Sikh temple, Wade Michael Page, his rampage at the Sikh temple in Wisconsin, Daryl Johnson, who was a domestic terrorism analyst, testified at his trial, and he said the threat of domestic terrorism motivated by extreme ideologies is often dismissed and overlooked in the national media and within the United States government, yet we're currently seeing an upsurge of domestic non-Islamic extremist activity, specifically from violent right-wing extremists. And despite this grave reality, officialdom out there, the media out there, they're trying so hard to explain how we ended up with a fascist president. They're saying, oh, it's because he's mentally unstable. No, it's because he's a fascist. And he's practicing it openly. And the media doesn't know how to call him out on it. And I'm really tired of everybody excusing his behavior under the, narrative of, well, he's got dementia. No, you know who's got dementia? John Conyers has dementia. And John Conyers, the Democrat who is the ranking member and formerly the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, has got to step down. He's got to go. But this is the difference between people with open minds and observant people who see wrong wherever it's being done, whether it's by white supremacist violent extremism or Islamist extreme, or even the eco-terrorists, okay, with a very small amount of, I think 5 deaths in that same 7.5 year period. Still, 5 deaths too many. But it's a tiny fraction of what violent, right-wing, Nazi-loving, neo-fascist, fascist today, extremists do. And if there's almost twice as many incidents of that, why is the president emboldening it by saying some of them are very fine people and only shining a light on one kind of terrorism in this country? And that's if it's inspired by hate preachers. Because the president is a hate preacher. Because the president is our own terrorist organizer. He is our own... we've been attacked. We have been attacked. Our democracy currently, as we speak, this minute, this day, this exact second in time, is under attack by fascists. It's happening. This isn't a drill. This is the real thing. This is it. I always told you I would tell you when it was it. I always told you. I told you when the economy was going to melt down. I told you in 2007 that the economy was going to implode. And I remember in 2007 we were on radio, but we had a national show, broadcast from coast to coast. I think we were on like 62, 65 radio stations, whatever. We had the most listened to progressive talk show in America. And I was telling people, and because we were on the radio, people who, listen in their cars didn't have to do anything proactively, okay, to get the show, were stumbling upon it. And they were calling me up screaming and telling me I was a liar. I didn't know what I was talking about. I was stupid because a recession meant 2 quarters of negative growth and we hadn't had. And I said, you watch this thing. Because Bush had given a speech, he said, Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac, they can make, you don't have to have a crappy first home. You could have a home that costs $300,000, even if you didn't, qualify. This is when I knew the deregulation was complete and it couldn't survive. And it's happening all over again. This time, not only is he deregulating the banks by putting Mick Mulvaney in charge of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, but he's deregulating the media. And look what happened to media last time. And it was deregulated by Bill Clinton in 1996, and it did not turn. It turned out badly. Badly. He's doing it again. He's doing it again. And now they want to make it cost you. They want to make me pay more to be in the fast lane of the internet. Comcast is actually mulling over how much to charge me at the toll booth to be in the fast lane because they know he's going to do it. And that means not only do I have to pay at the toll booth, additionally, I mean, we already pay, like $656 a month. $650 to be part of Comcast Business, which is faster. Okay, it's faster. So I could deliver this, right? But now they want to charge you on top of the $7.95 that you pay because you've chosen to have independent content delivered to you, content that isn't paid for by a corporation. So you've chosen to bring that into your life, and you've paid $7.95 a month or $72 a year to have that. And now they're going to charge you a toll that I don't get on top of that. So you're going to pay more, and I'm not going to make a profit, and I'm going to pay more eating away from my profit. How in the world can that possibly work if you believe in a free and open a media society? I mean, the internet works now. Everybody's figured out a way to make their money off of it, but all of a sudden they don't like the free market. All of a sudden, it's got to be regulated. Banks deregulated. People who make money off of capital gains deregulated. People who inherit money, who do nothing Nothing productive in society, nothing productive daily, nothing productive in this economy whatsoever, except travel on private jets and go all over the world and spend their money there and there and there and there. Corporations who have a fiduciary duty to enrich their shareholders, certainly not their employees. That is not their function. And they've already said that they won't do it. I mean, I put in the homework today, Coca-Cola said, listen, we're sitting on piles of cash right now. We have all the employees we need because we're so profitable. We don't need to hire anybody else. So when we get this windfall from this tax break, we're just going to enrich our shareholders. We're going to increase stock buybacks. We're going to do all kinds of things to, make our company look better and get more investors in it. We're going to, And who else? Amgen, pharmaceuticals, they said the same thing. Starbucks, same thing. Who else was Cisco Systems, same thing. We're just going to, pass it along to our shareholders. That's all we're supposed to be doing. That's what our legal obligation is to our shareholders. America is at full employment. So it's not like we need jobs. You know what we need? We need wages. The problem Americans have isn't that they can't find a job. The problem that they have is they don't get paid properly for doing their job. But the idea that work should be taxed at a lower rate than capital gains, money making money should be, this is totally out the window. This is what this tax cut is about. It's about giving breaks to people who make money off of money and punishing people who make money by labor, by working or providing services, like me. Okay, so this is all to hobble us. This is all to make us so completely poor. I mean, I don't know what else to, or so completely desperate that if you're working 2 jobs now, that's a sin, okay? If you're working 2 jobs now, if you're working 3 jobs now, it's because the wages aren't good enough at the first and second job and you need a third job, or it's because your child care bill is so high, or it's because the cost of living where you are is so high. I mean, but it's mostly about wages. This does nothing for what ails us, which is a stagnant wage economy. And also we have a skills gap. We have 5 million open jobs that pay very well. Just people haven't been offered retraining or the ability to go back to school. In fact, in this bill, as it stands right this second, as far as I can tell, because it's changing every 20 seconds, if you are in graduate school, the House of Representatives, Paul Ryan, would like to tax you the value of your PhD. He would like to actually tax students for the value of their PhD. I mean, as it, like a scholarship, as if it's income. They're also taking away the interest deduction when you pay off your student loans. This cannot be good for millennials. And also adding to the deficit, which our millennials and our post-millennials, kids that were born after the year 2000, they are going to get stuck paying for all of this. The interest, at least. This man has a plan, and the plan is to enrich him and his cronies, him and his friends, him and his corporate buddies. And yesterday, the audacity of him to claim he doesn't get any benefit from this, first of all, personally, when all he pays, as far as we know, from the 2005 IRS return, is the alternative minimum tax, which gets repealed. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.